hour of 6 o'clock. Having arrived, the board will come to order. Invocation by Ms. Douglas Williams, Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Crowell.
Always pray to have eyes that see the best in people, a heart that forgives the worst, a mind that forgets the bad, and a soul that never loses faith in God. No matter what life may bring, please believe in these two things. You're stronger than you may imagine, and you are never alone. Thank you, God.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ayers. Cameron. Constant. Dafsco. Diener. Del Giorno. Deppie. Douglas Williams. Forsyth. Frazee. Fulgenzi. Guyton.
Here.
Hall. Krell. Lathan. Madonia. McGuire. Mendenhall. Miller. Rader. Scaife. Shackman. Shepard. Small. Small. Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Now I do. Stumpf. Thomas. Chumlin. Truax. And the chairman's present. All 29 present.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. As some long-serving board members will know, we have a infamous tradition at the county board that if you have the grave misfortune to have your birthday fall on the evening of a county board meeting, the slightly off-key county board choir will sing to the birthday boy happy birthday, and our illustrious county clerk Don Gray is turning 29 today. 29 today. So if the slightly off-key county board choir will join me, please singing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Don. Happy birthday to you. Most people have the good sense to be sick on their birthday if it
No such luck.
Proclamations. The chair's aware of no proclamations, but we do have a presentation this evening from Mr. Josh Zabo, president of Heartland House. I saw Josh earlier. Oh, there he is. Okay. Sorry, Josh. I know he has a slide deck as well. And I know Josh has a lot of good news to report. A lot of good work being done at Heartland House. Josh, you can adjust the this dais so the microphone is.
Nice. How's everyone doing this evening? Good. If I did not pass out enough of those, let me know and I can make sure. Did I miss one on that? I was worried about that.
Thank you, sir.
Did you get one? Did I short it on your row? Okay. Mary, if you want to pass along there. All right. Well, everyone, I wanted to come and just share for a few moments about the work of Heartland House. Just a little bit of context. I know we usually get to come before you each year, and then we see you other times throughout the year. But Heartland House was established at the end of our strategic planning process to figure out how to better address homelessness as a community. And one of the findings is that as a community, we really lacked infrastructure in the form of a backbone organization. So we really didn't have an organization that was taking the lead on setting strategy, measuring if we were doing well or not doing well, identifying gaps and figuring out how to fill those. And so at the conclusion of the strategic plan, Heartland House was developed to be that backbone organization for our community. And so now we are a few years into that effort. And so what you have before you is kind of a 2025 year in review. It talks about some of the things that have taken place. It also talks about some of the challenges and then some of what we hope to accomplish this year. And then the slide deck will show you, will kind of lead us through that as well. So wanted to start with a few things that we're really excited about, really proud about over the course of the last few years. This slide shows you the growth in positive exits from our homelessness system. So we always like to go back to 2019 as sort of a good measure of where we were before our community began to work strategically together. It also gets us pre-pandemic, so it shows us just a little bit of where we were so we can see where we are. In 2019, our system was able to help 94 people exit homelessness. Now, some of that was to supportive housing programs, some of that was to helping people get income and go out and find a home on their own. One of the things that the strategic plan clearly identifies towards the end of 2022 is that our community was severely lacking in the ability to help people exit our system. So we had shelter, we had needs for shelter that were growing and growing, and as a community we really didn't create those exits so that people could leave shelter and really begin to rebuild their lives from the stability of housing. And so in the years since then, that's been really the overarching focus of our organization, of the continuum of care. How do we create more positive exits to the homelessness system? There are two key programs that do that. Both of them pair case management with rental subsidy. And so those case managers are working with families and individuals and helping them to increase their income, helping them to access benefits and healthcare and other things that they need to rebuild their lives. So we've seen steady growth. In 2023, that was the year that the state of Illinois created a program called Home Illinois. And so we saw funding coming into the community begin to increase. And then in the 2 years since, we've again built a system that is more effective. 2025 was the first year that we surpassed 400 people that were helped to exit homelessness and re-enter permanent housing, whether through a program or whether through employment and finding a unit. So that's something we're proud about. When you look at the strategic plan, it tells you that as a community that we need to be somewhere around 765 each year in terms of the number of people we're helping to exit the system. So even though we're seeing growth and we're seeing improvement, we still have a significant ways to go. When we stood before you last year, one of the things that we said we were hoping to achieve is what's called quality data. Community Solutions is an organization that works with communities across the country. And this year, our community became the 11th in the country to reach quality data for all single-person households, those that are chronically homeless, veterans. And so that's something we're really excited about. Our team got to go to Denver for the annual conference and got to learn from other communities. And that was a great opportunity for us to figure out how to keep moving forward. The data, reaching that quality data status, as a community, it really doesn't mean a whole lot unless we're using that data. So one of the things that we want to make sure you know is available to you when you go to our website, heartlandhouse.org, there is, under the tab What We Do, is a dashboard called the Built for Zero dashboard. It has several different metrics on it, but one of it is monthly inflow and outflow into our system. So one of the things that we're looking at is monthly, how many people became homeless and how many people exited the system. And as a community, part of what you're seeing here, the top bar is inflow, the bottom lighter blue is outflow. And so one of the things that you can see going back to December of 2024, over the last 12 months, we had 8 months where outflow was more than inflow, right? So more people exited homelessness than became homeless. We had 4 months where more people became homeless than exited the system. And so that just gives you an idea of, as a community, it's progress, right? We're moving in the right direction. We want every month for that outflow number to be higher. But we're seeing, again, more often than ever before, we're helping more people exit the system than enter. And so to reach our goals, we've got to keep that progress moving forward. Another project from 2025 was the 100-Day Veteran Challenge. This challenge was an opportunity for us to work alongside veteran partners throughout the community, set a goal, and then figure out how we could use that 100-day learning experience to reshape our system. So our group set the goal of helping 20 veterans exit homelessness and enter housing. Over those 100 days, we were able to help 18 veterans, so we didn't quite reach our goal, but we're proud of how far we got. But some of the best things that came out of that challenge was that we were able to pull together more partners more intentionally. So we had veteran partners, but that project of working together on that helped us to strengthen that task group, so that now when we meet each month, we've got more partners around the table. We also were able to improve what we call the by names list. So as we work to reduce homelessness, we want to work beyond numbers to know people by their names. And so part of what we have in the veteran space is a list of names of veterans who are experiencing homelessness. And as those partners are getting together, they're working on each of those names and saying, okay, where's that person? What are they working on? What help do they need? Who can offer it, right? And really just begin to work at that level to help people exit homelessness. During that process, we created a cross-agency referral training. So helping organizations know what other organizations do, but also how to help the people you're working with access the services that those programs offer. And then we mapped all the services. Again, part of the education of making sure that all of these partners know when they're working with somebody who they can go to for help. And so as we move forward with the goal to reach functional zero, we anticipate that veterans might be one of the first populations that we try to get to that metric, right? Where we have no veteran in the community who experiences homelessness for longer than 30 days. So that project really helped us kickstart those efforts so that we can begin planning or continue to plan around that. Another key area of growth this year was around street outreach. Our team was able to receive grants to hire 2 full-time street outreach staff and 2 part-time. For the first time in our community, that means that we have staff who are devoted to working with people who are unsheltered, who are on the streets, working with them to figure out how to access care, access shelter, figuring out what services and programs might they be able to access or be willing to access. It's also helped us to be more responsive to community needs and community concerns. So we've developed an app called HCOC Connect. Previously, it was only available for iPhone users. Within the next 30 days, we'll be releasing the Android version as well. And that app allows businesses and community members to just say, hey, I saw a person, I would love for somebody to reach out to them to see if they can offer them services. And it shares the location with our staff, so then they can go out and work to connect with people and make sure they're on our outreach by names list. So the other thing that we really worked on in that street outreach space was a formal protocol, or a more formal protocol for our community as encampments arise. What partners we can pull together to work with people in encampments and help people move out of encampments as quickly as possible. And so that was a big effort that we undertook this year with the goal of connecting people to services, right? Getting them in the pipeline to housing and getting them access to services they need to exit homelessness. With that, though, there's also some challenges. One of the things that's projected in the strategic plan is that the population of people experiencing homelessness in Sangamon County was projected to continue growing. When we looked back 10 years at our local data, we saw steady growth of the number of people touching our system each year. And so the strategic plan basically said we can expect that number to grow by about 155 households each year. And over the course of time since the strategic plan, that's held pretty true. So if you go back to 2019, there were a little over 1,200 people that were touching our system, so engaging different partners, engaging different services. In 2025, that number was up to 1,772 people. So we're seeing more people need the services in our community. Fortunately, we've seen those services grow at the same time. That's a 40% increase from 2019. Another dynamic that we have really struggled with is the fact that housing continues to get more expensive, right? So if you look at fair market rental values, this is the metric that U.S. Housing and Urban Development uses for what different programs, what landlords can charge different programs, but it goes through essentially a study to try to figure out how much rental units cost in the community and sets it based on that. So since 2019, we've seen a 48% increase in fair market rental rates. So that's gone from a place, when you go back to 2019, a person who maybe only had disability income was able to afford an efficiency or a 1-bedroom apartment and still have some level, though it was incredibly tough, would have some level left over after that to pay for food and other necessities. That number in 2026 would almost use every cent you would get from disability income. Additionally, just the amount of hours you have to work to reach that. Again, the more expensive housing gets, it directly correlates with rates of homelessness around the country. So whether you look out at San Francisco or Chicago and you look at the difference between that and Springfield, you can see that where rental costs are higher, homelessness rates are higher. And so this is something that we watch closely and do whatever we can to try to increase the availability of affordable units. As we've built out our street outreach team, that's helped us to get a better understanding of people who are unsheltered or living outside in our community. That list currently is at 72 individuals. That might not mean that every single night they're sleeping outside. They might go to shelter some, or may stay with a friend or stay with family members for a period of time. But that means there's 72 people that our outreach staff are working with regularly, who are not using shelter and are unhoused. As we're working with those individuals, it often surfaces other gaps and needs in the community, particularly around mental health. We find that folks who are dealing with the most complex challenges are the most likely to not be able to stay in shelter, whether that's if they're active in some level of mental health distress. Going into a place, even no matter how well run a shelter is, and you're staying in a room with 60 to 70 other people, is an incredibly difficult place for someone dealing with mental health challenges to be. And so our housing other than shelter, often what we're trying to do when we're working with people on the streets is figure out what they can access safely, what they're willing to access, but also to make sure that they're getting on our coordinated entry list and they're getting prioritized for housing, just like folks in other programs. Physical health care is often a challenge, access to treatment services. We have found that a lot of the services in our community are appointment-based, right? If you are, again, perhaps active in addiction or having a mental health issue and somebody tells you that the way to access service is to come to a particular building at a particular time, one day a week, it's not necessarily the best way to get people access to care. So trying to figure out how to break down those barriers and get people access to care, again, is what that street outreach team is doing, but the barriers to do so are really difficult. Some of the things that we're focusing on in 2026. So we're now at the halfway point in our strategic plan. So we've invited the consultants that helped our community develop that plan to come back in and just say, how are we doing? Where are we doing well? Where are we failing? Where do we need to kind of tweak the work that we're doing as we continue to work to make progress on that plan? We anticipate that report will be ready in the first quarter of this year and something that we'll share widely with the community. Connected to that street outreach conversation, we're thinking a lot about what we're calling complex care. How do we pull together our federally qualified health centers and our hospital systems and other partners to work together for folks who are dealing with a lot of different challenges in their lives and need not just housing, but need a lot of different services to come together at the same time to help them achieve the goals they want to achieve. So that's a focus for this year. How do we build out the complex care ecosystem in our community? We're also currently working on a youth homelessness needs assessment and strategy. Some of that has started going back about 8 months ago when we did a survey of youth experiencing homelessness through a series of focus groups and talking to service providers in the community. We're working to identify the needs that youth are facing. Youth homelessness is complex. The federal government itself has 2 different definitions for what youth homelessness is. There's different funding pots for all of that. All kinds of different challenges associated with that. So we are working to figure out as a community how to pull that together and have a more defined strategy to make sure that the youth in this community do have a safe and stable place to stay each night. We have continued plans. We feel like we've built a great foundation for street outreach, but we have a lot of work to do to build upon that foundation. So that remains a goal for this year. Workforce development. In particular, we know that there are changes coming around people that access SNAP and other benefits, and we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to help those in our programs or those exiting homelessness get connected to employment opportunities, and that's been identified through our strategic plan check-in as an area where we need to grow and figure out how to do better in. The last part, increasing housing opportunities and reducing the number of people entering homelessness. So Those first couple slides, we told you that we've helped more people exit homelessness this past year than ever before in our community's history. We've got to continue that work, right? We still have a gap from where we are to help people leave shelter more quickly and begin to rebuild their lives from the context of safe and stable housing. I'll show you in a moment one of the key tools we're building to do that. But the other part of that is that as a community, we want to do a better job of connecting with families and individuals before they become homeless, right? How can we avoid people from, making it to eviction court? We have a lot of great programs in our communities that work closely together around homelessness prevention, but they all have different requirements. And so we see a lot of people who kind of fall through the cracks, a lot of families that fall through the cracks and then have to access shelter. And so I'll show you again one of the things we're working to build so that we can help more families, more individuals stay in their housing units in the first place and not have to use shelter and other services. One of those programs is what we're calling the Heartland Flexible Housing Pool. The county, you actually were among the first to make a commitment to this effort in your last fiscal year budget. And so last year, as we went out and we gave presentations to community, churches, faith communities, businesses, our hospitals, this was a key tool or a key opportunity we presented for those entities to invest in the system. Essentially, the idea is that we get federal funding and we get state funding that pairs case management with rental subsidy. And we've been very fortunate that that funding has grown. There was an announcement with Governor Pritzker in town last month that kind of shared about a special allocation from the state in that direction. But the reality is those state funds are not going to increase exponentially, right? They're really probably as high as they will ever be. Federal funding in the space is shifting. We anticipate it actually going down. And so to reach the goals we've set as a community, we've got to create our own ability to invest in programs that work and help people exit homelessness. And that's what the Flexible Housing Pool is designed to do. It's designed to help us identify efficiencies in the system. For the example, a state might fund a case manager with an organization, but not give them enough money for rental subsidy to help fill that caseload for that case manager, right? And so with the Flexible Housing Pool, we can find out where those efficiencies are in the system and kind of make strategic investments in organizations so that we can house people at a lower cost to the community. So that's a key effort we can continue to grow on. We hope to continue to build on, rather. In 2025, we had over $300,000 donated to the Flexible Housing Pool. So we've been able to launch that very successfully. And then on the prevention side, we've developed what's called the Heartland Housing Helpline. You can see the number there, 217-803-5235. When people call that number, that's how they get referred to homelessness prevention programs through the state. They also try to help people navigate, getting connected to community resources that they're eligible or other programs that they're eligible for. Sometimes we work with folks who are not eligible for any program in the community. And so with the Housing Problem Solving Flexible Fund, it allows us to have some access to resources so that when people hit a crisis, we can provide some support for that once every 2 years. So those are two of the ways that we're hoping to continue building on the success. If we're successful here, we'll see that number drop from 1,772, right? Fewer people touching our shelters and our system. And then, frankly, on the prevention side, that's some of the best money our community can spend because we're helping families avoid the trauma of homelessness altogether. We're stopping the disruption that causes people to struggle with employment or getting their kids to school and all of those types of challenges. And kind of, instead of using high-cost services like shelter, rebuild their lives from the context of their own home. So those are two programs we're really excited about. So that was a lot. I'd be happy to, and a lot of that is kind of contained and spelled out a little bit better in the report before you. And if you're here and you didn't get a report, you'll be able to find that tomorrow at heartlandhouse.org on the news section of our website. That review will be there as well. But happy to entertain any questions or speak into that anymore.
Questions for Josh? Yeah, Mr. Doty.
Josh, how many families are currently homeless, and do they get priority in placement for permanent housing?
Yeah, so we have families so we have programs that are catered specifically to families, right? So the funding that comes in for that is only used for families. So Mercy Communities is our key housing provider, our only housing provider for permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing. But then we have shelter programs and transitional housing programs, and there's a few of those in the community. So when you look at that, our families, our primary shelter is Contact Ministries, and they serve both families and single women. So at any given time, they'll have upwards of 30 women in shelter. Often the families pretty quickly are moved into the transitional housing program that can serve usually around 10 households into that program. And then you've got Mercy Communities transitional housing program. So in shelter and in transitional housing, we consider still literally homeless by HUD's definition. So Mercy Communities transitional housing program serves another 8 households, and then Inner City Mission serves anywhere from 10 to 15 often. So at any given point, there could be upwards of 30 families that are in those transitional programs in our community. And then through street outreach, that is a population we've identified, in particular, families utilizing their cars. So that a couple of different occasions that, we have found families staying in their cars to avoid going to shelter in some of those things.
Finished?
One more question. So, do you find those families? I mean, we search every night for these families, or is that what you guys do? That's near and dear to my heart. Is it's like they want to see a family homeless, and but you guys do a great job of making sure a family is not out in the cold or under a viaduct or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So those street outreach workers, I mean, they're kind of tuned into. There's certain things, for cars in particular. If you're going through a Walmart parking lot and you see a car that has, windows that are kind of full with items, there's different kind of indicators that they're looking for, and so they do spend time looking for that nights and weekends. In particular, when we now have part-time folks that are doing that, But through the app also, that has been an opportunity, or people just kind of, local elected officials or local businesses that reach out and just say like, hey, I know this person. This person works for me. This is what they're facing. That's been probably one of the community members kind of finding out about these situations and making referrals to us. Has probably been among the most effective opportunities to connect with them. And then, from there, we're trying to figure out what they're willing to do, right? Sometimes, they may not be willing to go to shelter or those types of settings. And so we begin a safety plan, right? Like, was there a family? Is there a friend, even for a couple nights, while we figure out something else? And then we start reaching out to all those transitional housing programs to see if there's any openings and go from there. So all of the organizations, I will say, it's pretty incredible to see the way they all work together. And again, the quicker we can help families exit those transitional housing opportunities, that makes sure that there's a room available for that next family in need, right? And so that's really that emphasis of helping people move out and get back into those housing opportunities too, because crises keep coming, right? We all know how difficult it can be at times. So making sure that we don't hit the spot where everything's full and somebody has nowhere to go.
You do beautiful work. Keep up the great work. You are an excellent guy, man. Thank you so much for all you do for this community.
Thank you.
Mr. Madoni's question goes to the heart of one of the puzzles that I know you've been wrestling with, which is some places specialize in mothers with children, some people specialize in single men, and getting the available beds to match the people that need them. Are we doing better at that?
We are. It is a challenge. I will say one of the things that, not just in our community, but in a lot of communities during the pandemic, more organizations and more funding allowed us to start using hotels. And that has really, people were really hesitant, I think, to do that prior to that. But after doing that, we have found, particularly for families, we found that to be a really successful route. Because it gives us that flexibility, right? And so we now have more of those hotel-based programs than we've ever had before, and that has been a game changer in terms of that flexibility. So probably one of the bigger innovations that has helped with that.
Right. Other questions, Mr. Hall?
Josh, I've known you for over 20 years at your ministry in New Berlin Church and your friendship. I'm so proud of you. And I've seen you guys. address people that most people would ignore. And you use the word mister, and you call him by his name. It means a lot when a guy's down.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, we do. We have an incredible team, without a doubt. Thank you.
Mr. Kahneman.
Thank you. Seems like you guys are doing a great job. Your statistics show that from 2019 to 2025, number of people exiting homelessness went from 94 to 409. But do you also have the numbers, the annual numbers as to how many people entered homelessness? I mean, like for example, in 2025, did more people enter homelessness than exited, or is it?
Yes, sir. Oh, actually, my slide is no longer up. So that was the slide where we talked about 1,772 in 2025 versus 1,245 in 2019.
17.
So
Okay, I meant 17. Okay, exits. Okay, went to 1772. Okay, so I mean, is the number of people entering homelessness going up at the same level, or is it less? Just
yeah, right, great question. So when you look at the number of folks that through our programs are helping to exit, it's keeping pace / a little bit higher, barely higher than the number of new people reaching our system. And then along with that, you have people who resolve their homelessness on their own, right? So people might come and use shelter for a month. During that time, they might connect with family. Then from there, their family says, hey, they can come with us. Then, we get them connected. So that's not the whole picture of the ways that people exit, but sometimes they get help through organizations, and then sometimes they self-resolve on their own. But
those numbers, 1772 exiting homelessness, that doesn't mean that those people found permanent housing, but they're just not using your homelessness services anymore. Is that right?
Yes. So that's the total number of unique individuals that touched our system over the course of a year. So this one is not the number of people who exited, but the number of unique people.
Oh, that's the growth. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So you can compare that. So if 2025, you had 1,772 new people, 409 exited. So the net increase would be the difference between those two numbers.
Right. So not quite as clean as that, right? So on a given night, so the other thing we do is, next week, we'll do our annual point in time count where we go out on one night and we'll count every person who's sleeping outside. We'll also at the same time count every person in an emergency shelter program, in a transitional housing program. Now during the same window, that number has gone up a little over 100 people. So on a given night in Sangamon County, there's roughly about 385 people who are in our shelters, transitional housing program, or potentially on the street. So all of that, when you look at that 1772, that's not all happening at one time, right? Those are people kind of touching the different months. But at any given point, there might be 380 people who are using those shelter services or using those transitional housing programs.
If somebody exited a shelter but then they went out to live on the street, they wouldn't be counted in the number as exiting homelessness.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're at the shelter, at the Helping Hands shelter. It's my understanding that so far it has never exceeded capacity. In other words, you've always been able to accommodate the number of people that sought a shelter. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because there was a Facebook post talking about being at capacity recently from Helping Hands. So they have kind of a normal capacity during the year of how many beds they have, and so they kind of released a post saying, "Hey, we've exceeded that capacity." In the winter, they use cots to expand beyond that. And since the inception of that shelter, we've not had a night where they had to turn people away due to not having shelter space, and that remains true.
What's the maximum number of people you've ever had at the Helping Hands shelter?
It has gotten as high as 170.
And what's the maximum capacity?
It's around 180, 185. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Josh? Josh, I just want to say that, and to the board members, your app really works because you know that when you first put it out, I turned in Brian McFadden because I think he sleeps under his desk here. And the next morning, you called me and
That's
said, we have a report that there's a homeless person in the county building. I said, no, it's Brian. But the app really works, and we want to encourage the community to use it. Josh, I think I know the answer to this. Was our VAC involved in your Veterans Challenge
They were,
Coalition?
yeah.
That's great to hear that, because they have some really powerful funding tools that they can bring to bear. So that's great to hear. And I hesitate a little bit to ask this, but how many staff do you have?
We are, we just hired a new one earlier this week. So we are up to 7 full-time staff, but then the organization also supports a housing navigator, partially through at Helping Hands, and then our database administrator. So we support 9 full-time positions through the organization.
Do you pay rent where your offices are now?
We do currently.
I'm just thinking, John is not going to like this idea, but I'm just thinking, we're just talking today about the community services building that we're planning, where the public health building is now, and I just wonder, just thinking of all the things you do, if maybe we should talk with you about including you in that facility.
But if you got extra space, John, we wouldn't mind shedding the rent payment. So
I'm not sure we have extra space, but maybe there's a way to squeeze it in. At least we ought to take a look at it before we build it. Well, any other questions for Josh? Thank you very much, Josh. Thanks for the work you do.
Appreciate it.
Minutes of the December 9th, 2025 meeting. Motion by Mr. Madonia, seconded by Mr. Del Giorno for the approval of the minutes of the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Minutes are approved. Motion by Mr. Del Giorno, seconded by Mr. Madonia to place correspondence on file with the clerk. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Correspondence to be placed on file with the clerk. Resolutions. Resolution number 1, Mr. Clerk.
Resolution 1, resolution approving a grant application for community resources from the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for the LIHEAP program in the amount of $1,463,606.
Motion by Mr. Madonia, second by Mr. Del Giorno to place Resolution 1 before the board. Questions, comments from members of the board on Resolution 1? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Ayers? Canman? Constant? Dafsko? Diener? Del Giorno? Depi? Douglas Williams? Forsythe? Frazee? Fulgenzi? Guyton?
Aye.
Paul? Krell? Lathan? Madonia? McGuire? Mendenhall? Miller? Rader? Scaife? Shackman? Shepherd? Small? Stump? Thomas? Chumlin? Truax? All 28 approve.
All those voting having voted in the affirmative, Resolution 1 is adopted. Resolution 2, Mr. Clerk.
Number 2025-21, Kathy I. Schwartz, 11396 State Route 125 Pleasant Plains, granting rezoning and variances.
Motion by Mr. Frazee, seconded by Mr. Madonia to place Resolution 2 before the board. We're now entering the zoning portion of the meeting. It's our policy to ask if there are members of the audience who wish to speak in opposition to the proposed rezoning. Seeing none of the members of the audience who feel it's necessary to speak in support of the proposed rezoning. Seeing none, Mr. Mendenhall, do you have a motion?
Since we have no opposition, I move we waive the staff report.
Is there objection? Without objection, so ordered. Questions or comments from members of the board on the resolution? Seeing none on the resolution, all those in favor of adopting the resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Resolution 2 is adopted. Resolution 3, Mr. Clerk.
Number 3, 2025-20, David P. Ginder, 7750 Cardinal Hill Road, Rochester, granting a rezoning and variances.
Motion by Mr. Thomas, seconded by Mr. Mendenhall to place Resolution 3 before the board. Are there members of the audience who wish to speak in opposition to the proposed rezoning? Seeing none, are there members of the audience who feel it's necessary to speak in support of the proposed rezoning? Seeing none, Mr. Mendenhall.
Since we have no opposition, I move we waive the staff report.
Is there objection? Without objection, so ordered. Questions or comments from members of the board on Resolution 3? Seeing none, on the question, all those in favor of adopting Resolution 3 signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Resolution 3 is adopted. Resolution 4, Mr. Clerk.
Number 4, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution and delivery of an intergovernmental agreement between the County of Sangamon and Village of Jerome related to building and property code inspections, permitting, and violations.
Motion by Mr. Ayers, seconded by Ms. Deppie to place Resolution 4 before the board. Mr. Madonia, you have a motion on that?
I move that the roll call vote for Resolution 1 stand for the roll call vote of Resolution 4.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Resolution 4 is adopted. Motion by Mr. Mendenhall, Mr. Madonia, seconded by Mr. Del Giorno for the waiver of the 10-day filing period. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 10-day filing period is waived. Resolution 5, Mr. Clerk.
Number 5, resolution approving the procurement of goods and/or services for information systems from CloudSafe for a period of 3 years for the purpose of monthly iSeries cloud backups in the amount of $36,180.
Motion by Ms. Deppie, seconded by Mr. Dasco to place Resolution 5 before the board. Mr. Del Giorno.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I move to consolidate resolutions 6 through 17 and with 5.
Second by Mr. Madonia. Mr. Clerk, will you please read resolutions 6 through 17?
My pleasure. Number 6, resolution approving the procurement of goods and/or services for information systems from Tyler Technologies Incorporated for the purpose of renewing the annual financial software maintenance in the amount of $85,961.60. Number 7, resolution authorizing the county administrator to negotiate and enter into an agreement with Midwest Industrial Contractors Corporation Incorporated for the performance of demolition work in the amount of $80,000. Number 8, resolution authorizing an agreement between Sangamon County and the Farnsworth Group for the remodeling of the State's Attorney's Office in the amount not to exceed $50,750. Number 9, resolution authorizing an agreement between Sangamon County and Jennings Painting for the remodeling of the 7th floor courtrooms in the Sangamon County Courthouse in the amount of $217,780. Number 10, resolution approving the procurement of goods and/or services for Public Health Department from WAND 17 for the purpose of providing Narcan advertising services in the amount of $50,000. Number 11, resolution approving a grant application for the Public Health Department from the Illinois Department of Public Health for the Vaccines Access Program, Sangamon, in the amount of $50,000. Number 12, resolution approving the procurement of goods and/or services for the State's Attorney's Office from Morrow Brothers Ford Incorporated for the purpose of purchasing a new 24 Ford Edge in the amount of $36,300. 13, resolution approving a grant application for the State's Attorney's Office from the Illinois Attorney General's Office for the Violent Crimes Victim Assistance Program in the amount of $42,500. 14, resolution approving the procurement of goods and/or services for the Recorder's Office from Fiddler Technologies for the purpose of maintaining records database and various search databases in the amount of $133,200. 15, resolution approving a grant application for the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning Commission for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, from the, in the amount of $1,500,000. Number 16, resolution approving a grant application for community resources from the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for the Community Service Block Grant Program in the amount of $569,641. And finally, number 17, resolution approving the procurement of goods and/or services for the Finance Miscellaneous Department from Heartland Housed for the purpose of providing flexible housing support in the amount of $50,000.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. On the motion to consolidate, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion to consolidate is agreed to. Questions or comments, members of the board, on the resolutions as consolidated? Seeing none, Mr. Madonia, do you have Mr. Kamen?
Resolution number 12 is with the State's Attorney's Office buying a new 2024 Ford Edge. Is this to replace a vehicle that the State's Attorney's Office has now, or is this something, a new addition to the office?
I think that's a question we can direct to professional staff. I don't think we have anybody from the State's Attorney's Office here, but I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Joe, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not really here.
Just this potted plant here, I'm sorry.
No, in answer to your question, there was a pickup truck they had, which they, I believe, went to Billington Grounds.
Correct.
And so this car will take the price of that.
Okay, but it was purchased from a dealer not in Sangamon County, somebody in Greenfield, Illinois. Why don't we try to make these purchases here locally, help our local businesses?
We buy off the state bid.
Oh,
This is the
okay.
cheapest option we have. We'd like to buy locally, but none of the local dealers have
All right, thanks.
come to
And
state
then
bid.
On resolution 17, the $50,000 for Heartland House for the purpose of providing flexible housing support. Is that to get hotel rooms?
No.
What is it to be
That,
spent on?
Mr. Zabel spoke directly to that before. This is the flexible housing fund that we seed funded last year, and they've now raised an additional $300,000 primarily from the religious community. And that's a flexible housing fund that they use for sort of emergency situations and for people who present with a emergency situation, whatever that may be. So it's a fund without strict criteria, but they found it to be very useful.
So it could be used to get somebody who's homeless in an emergency a hotel room, possibly?
It has no restriction on its usage.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions from members of the board on the resolutions as consolidated? Seeing none, Ms. Madonia, do you have a motion?
I move that the roll call vote for Resolution 1 stand for the roll call vote for Resolutions 5 through 17 as consolidated.
Second by Mr. Del Giorno. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions as consolidated are adopted. Old business. The chair is aware of no old business. New business. The chair is aware of no new business. Mr.
I have
Cannon.
some new business. I had like to ask Sheriff Crouch a question. I had been hearing a lot of radio commercials that you've had on the air, and it says paid for by the authority of Sangamon County, which I think we authorized in a resolution we passed, or that they could be put on the air up to 63 days before an election. But I was wondering, I asked you if you could give me an accounting of the amount of money, taxpayer money that was spent on these radio commercials, billboards, and other advertising. Do you have that information?
So I have some of the information that you requested. As far as the advertising, you asked for after November of 25. So for radio advertisement, we've spent $6,152. The billboard costs all happened before November of 25.
Okay, all right. And that was the only advertising after November 1, 2025, the radio ads?
The radio ads, yes.
Okay, there were no TV. On your purchase reports, there's an item for Comcast cable. That's not TV ads?
No, not
What is
for
it?
me.
What was that for?
I have no idea, Tim.
Okay. All right,
Probably the
thanks.
jail. Inmate TV.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
And I would, Mr. Canman, just to point out, on your email that you sent me, you ask about some promotion for expenses for prescription drug drop-off. We do generally partner with public health on that, but in this particular incident, the one that you're talking about, there were no funds from Sangamon County used for any of that. And the promotion of free rides for people who had too much to drink on New Year's Eve, we did not do a promotion for that, so that one is.
So the only ones you used county funds for was to promote your app and the job fair, is that correct?
There was a sheriff's app and job fair, and then we did a drive sober campaign over New Year's.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions under new business? Seeing none. Appointments. Motion by Mr. Badonio, seconded by Mr. Del Giorno for the approval of the appointments as submitted at your desk. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The appointments are approved. And then we have public comment. We have 10 people, I think, who signed up to speak tonight. Under our new rules, every person is afforded up to 4 minutes to speak. And we take the speakers in the order that they signed up. And the first person who signed up is someone well known to the county board, Ms. Kathleen Campbell. Ms. Campbell, you can adjust that table if you want to. The whole table.
I think I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Kathleen Campbell. I'm president of Citizens Against Heartland Greenwashing Projects. I live in Glenarm. As a retired professor emeritus and distinguished scholar from SIU School of Medicine, I tend to focus on health issues. First, I'd like to thank the board for sponsoring the December Data Center Public Forum and listening to the multiple citizens' concerns expressed at the zoning committee meetings. I'd also like to personally thank Trustin Harrison for meeting with my colleague and me to carefully explain the permitting approval process and answering our many questions. We've talked about the noise pollution, the water risks, the irrevocable damage to farmland, the possible lost opportunity costs and loss of property value to surrounding properties, the risks of higher energy costs, the low likelihood of major employment for our Sangamon County workers, and the possibility that these data centers may have short longevity, leaving behind a non-marketable property. Other data centers across the country have not received the projected funds first promised. Increasingly, citizens across the country in areas that have experienced the negative impacts of data centers are rejecting them. The backlash is growing. Let's listen to them. However, tonight I speak about the health impacts of data centers, particularly the pollution now being called digital smog. On November 5th, 2025, Harvard Business Review published a review article consolidating the information across multiple studies. They state, and I quote, "These massive facilities not only strain already stressed power grids, but also create air pollution, including fine particulate matter, resulting in significant respiratory-related health consequences that are estimated to cost up to $20 billion per year in the United States by 2028. The released air pollutants include PM 2.5 and nitrogen oxides, often called silent killers. These air pollutants can penetrate deep into the lungs and are linked to a variety of health outcomes such as asthma, lung cancer, heart attacks, and even premature death. They're recognized as the second highest risk factor for non-communicable diseases. Importantly, air pollutants like PM 2.5 are considered non-threshold, meaning there is no safe level, and any increase poses a health risk. Even short-term exposure, lasting just 30 minutes to 24 hours, can trigger breathing problems, particularly for vulnerable individuals with pre-existing lung conditions. Moreover, these pollutants can travel hundreds of miles with the wind, raising air pollutant concentrations in communities far from the emissions source. I would point out that Springfield is in the direct path of the southwesterly winds common here. Some state agencies have begun conducting health impact assessments of data centers, on-site diesel generators to inform emission limits, and residents near a large AI data center in Memphis, Tennessee have raised strong concerns about air pollution and health risks, concerns that have reached national headlines. I do not see our current permitting process has any emission limits, nor do they include health impact assessments. We need to proactively integrate public health impacts into the design and deployment of AI, an approach called health-informed AI. Let's not approve this project until these needed tools are actualized and pollution guidelines fully developed so we can protect our public health. I would point out that at no time during our public hearing in December did Cyrus Fund or the Springfield Growth Alliance even mention these public health risks, and it's their responsibility to be transparent. New regulations and legislation are in the works. Let's wait. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. May we have a copy of your remarks, if not those specific ones? Could we have those for the clerk? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great. I kind of thought you did. Okay, the next person who signed up to speak in order is Ryan McCready. As Mr. McCready approaches the dais, I just want to mention to board members, we've had several members of the public ask us for second opinions on some of the information that we gathered for the public hearing, and staff is working on getting second opinions on some of the information that we gathered for the public hearing. Mr. McCready.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Ryan McCready. I'm president of the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance here in Springfield. Our offices are in downtown Springfield. I wanted to thank the county board for the process that you put forward to have an open public discussion about Cyrus One's plans to construct a data center here in Sangamon County. I think you can see the difference in how the process has gone here compared to maybe some other communities that are also exploring data center options. Just a couple reminders about this project. This project would represent a $500 million investment in our community. Cyrus One has entered into a letter of intent with our local Building and Construction Trades Council to use local labor to construct that and to maintain that facility. That investment in local workers will create an exceptional economic impact out into the community as those workers live here, will spend money here, support our businesses, send their kids to our schools, and go to our churches. So it's a great opportunity for us. Also, although Cyrus One is new to Sangamon County, they're not new to Illinois, and they're not new to the industry. Cyrus One has been around for over 25 years in the process of doing data centers around the country and globally. So they have a tremendous amount of experience. There are a lot of data center companies that are startups right now that are exploring opportunities, but the good news for us is we're dealing with a very experienced organization that's looking at doing the data center here in Springfield and Sangamon County. I know the cost to provide public services to your constituents and your taxpayers goes up every single day. It's just the nature of what we do and what exists. When you look at the part of Sangamon County where this project will be located, that part of the county has not seen enormous increases in property values. And so when you determine how much taxes each person in the community pays, it's what could be a simple mathematical equation of the cost for services divided by the units that determine how much tax you pay. And those are units of property value, equalized assessed valuation. If we can't find a way to increase the denominator of that equation, the bottom of that equation, the top's going to constantly continue to increase. The cost to provide services is going to continue to increase. One of the ways we offset that is through economic development, through finding opportunities to increase property values and to provide development opportunities across the county. That's what this project represents. Right now, these properties at this site pay about $20,000 a year in property taxes, and the estimate from the Sangamon County Assessor is over $6 million a year in property taxes on this same acreage. So this represents an opportunity to affect that equation in a positive way. I appreciate having the opportunity to speak, and the Growth Alliance is available to answer questions from any of you or other constituents anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCready. And the next person who signed up to speak in order is Jeff Scott. Mr. Scott? Mr. Scott? None? Not seeing Mr. Scott? Okay. The next person who signed up in the order to speak is Ethan Manning. Proceed, Mr. Manning.
So as I've spoke before, we're about 3 months in. I've spoke several times now. There's been many good points that have been brought up. I always try to look at this from a little bit different of an angle. I've kind of focused more on the financial end of this. Just real quick, there's some things that have been put out have been concerns or issues over land usage, environmental pollution, power grid concerns, electric bill increases, etc., all of which I'm concerned about as well. But something that has not been mentioned that I got to thinking about is, what if this company, Cyrus One, decides to change ownership? So then it made me think a little bit deeper. Who is Cyrus One? Well, as published on the Sangamon County website, they're a company based out of Texas that is worth about $15 billion, that has been in business since the early 2000s, but I would somewhat disagree. They were purchased in 2022 by a company called KKR, and as I've said before, if you follow the money, you actually end up at a skyscraper in Manhattan Island. And KKR's is possibly one of the biggest private equity companies on the planet. And so if you know anything about private equity, your skin should already be crawling. If you don't, I'd like to take a little time and read a brief synopsis here. Again, somewhat my opinion on what private equity is, but talking about private equity and KKR, the company. Private equity is a insidious level above large faceless corporations. While corporations have profits first they still have to tend to their products and services while maintaining their bottom lines. Big tech is an example of this. Private equity, on the other hand, typically uses a model of takeovers and borrowed debt to buy up companies. This debt is not theirs, and it's common for them to use government pension funds. They work in short-term windows, typically 3 to 5 years, and if the company is not successful, they look to dissolve the company through finding another buyer, chopping the company up by liquidation, or just simply seeking bankruptcy protection. KKR, which owns CyrusOne, has a portfolio of companies valued at over $600 billion. Its portfolio includes energy companies, healthcare companies, food companies, publishing companies, entertainment companies, web-based companies, and even IP rights. For example, they own the rights in IP. They own the rights to the band One Direction. Oliver Stone's character of Gordon Gekko was influenced by the then CEO of KKR, and the book Barbarians at the Gate, which was later turned into a movie starring James Garner, was written about KKR's ruthless takeover of RJR Nabisco. Recently, the book Plunderers was written about PE, private equity firms, and highlights KKR among others. I'd like to quote something from that book, and it says here straight out of the book: private equity is greed wrapped in the American flag of efficiency, looting, justified by solid investments, if that even happens. Which brings me back to kind of the beginning of this. If this company changes hands, or if it's dissolved, or if it just falls under typical private equity, think Goldman Sachs, think BlackRock, will they honor their commitments to land usage? Will they honor their commitments to environmental pollution? Or that our power bills won't increase, or power grid concerns, and on and on and on. Because as I said, at the end of the day, all private equity cares about is the bottom dollar. So I'm just going straight for the throat on this one. Vote no to this. Just please vote no, because I can tell you, come one, come many, and I don't want to end up like Loudoun County. And I will also say that looking out, there's going to be other areas we're going to be looking to build as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person to sign up to speak in order is Mr. Hanrahan.
Good evening, and thank you. I'm here tonight simply to announce that a number of collaborators, myself included, conducted a lot of research since the last time I was here on what other communities have done with respect to data centers, and we've come up with a draft of a proposed data center ordinance that we forwarded for board consideration to Mr. Trustin Harrison. Copies have also been sent by certified mail to CyrusOne and to its local council. Given USPS realities, they probably won't receive it till this weekend. We did a lot of research. We reached out to other communities and did a lot of reading and discovered that some had drafted noise ordinances only to be frustrated with the discovery that the most offensive emitted sounds from the data center were not covered because its frequency is different than typical industrial noise. It's much lower. It covers different frequency bands, and exposure creates difficulties with human health and sleep. Think of these new frightening weapons that they're coming up with. They were actually mentioned as having been used in Venezuela. Sonic weapons. They're low frequency sounds that disrupt your very organs. Well, because of its low frequency, the sound also travels through things and farther than higher frequency sound. And there was one data center where the community prevailed and they passed an ordinance with noise regulation, but they didn't do the right frequencies. And the company spent tens of millions of dollars to build remediation for the sounds they were making, and it didn't work until they got the real experts that came in and said, oh, you're looking at the wrong bandwidth of noises, and you can modify your fan housings and fans, and that's what should have been done. It would have saved the company millions of dollars, and it would have saved the residents a lot of grief. But our ordinance covers about 5 pages. It's a lot longer than the current one. Contains detailed sound and vibration provisions, adds site requirements for energy, water, light, buffers, landscaping, other provisions not addressed or inadequately addressed in the current ordinance. We urge the board to quickly reconsider its current ordinance, which really has no effective provisions at all for noise, except when the proposed center is directly adjacent to a residence. It effectively greenlights these things throughout the county wherever you can conceive of a grid connection. Residential properties, businesses, livestock operations, kennels, the impairment of ability to subdivide adjacent farmland and use it. All this and more are at stake, whether it's Cyrus 1 or the next one. The state legislature is going to take up data center issues. I just want to say we need guardrails in place now, not 2 years from now. Construction jobs that build a machine that takes away jobs is a loser proposition to me. And the state legislature exempting mega projects from the touted tax benefits, freezing property tax values at the pre-bill level is pending in the legislature right now with wide support, bipartisan support, one in the House, one in the Senate. Don't count on your big revenues. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person who signed up to speak.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me.
Oh, yeah, Mr.
The gentleman's name, I did not catch.
Mr. Hanrahan. Mr. Hanrahan.
Okay, thank you.
The next person who signed up to speak in order is Aaron Kirkpatrick.
Good evening. I'm Erin Kirkpatrick, Sangamon County resident. In quick response to Mr. McCready, we are not different than other communities. Cyrus 1 touts fast modular construction on their site. We all want local labor utilized, but this distracts from jobs that will be lost from the AI it will house. Cyrus 1 has already changed hands 3 times in those years operating, and data center companies have their taxes reevaluated at the state level to pay less or even force repayment. As for my comments, in a course from Harvard on leadership, they discuss different types of challenges. Adaptive challenges force us to build new capacities. They demand that we go beyond what we currently know how to do and have associated uncertainty and questions around loss. You know the adage, people resist change. Well, it's not really true. People love change when they know it's a good thing. People aren't stupid. Nobody gives back a winning lottery ticket. What people resist is not change per se, but the losses that sometimes accompany change. Leadership requires a deep respect for the pains of change. You have to understand what you are asking of people when you ask them to change. Data centers pose such an adaptive challenge. We must go beyond what we have done before, and there will be trade-offs. We must have the humility to recognize that the effects of data centers are not something we fully understand. And leadership would require communicating about what you are asking our community to give up in exchange for proposed data center dollars. I'm concerned we're so focused on short-term economic gain that we're not performing an adequate long-term risk-benefit analysis. 70% of the increase in electric rates across the nation this year was due to data centers. The growing demand for AI is projected to push the total annual public health burden of US data centers up to more than $20 billion annually in 2028, in 2 years, or approximately 600,000 asthma symptom cases and 1,300 premature deaths. Remember, the decibel scale is logarithmic, not linear, which means 60 decibels is twice as loud as 50. We are now subsidizing through our electric bills and physical and mental health some of the largest companies on the planet as they promise us diminishing tax breadcrumbs. So let's ask ourselves, do we want more freedom for individuals or more freedom for corporations? Because our current lack of regulations is certainly granting corporate freedom. The time is now to update our zoning around data centers. Just reading the proposed zoning updates taught me how much more I have to learn, despite believing I know a relative lot. Again, I call on you to do the work on this on the front end. Let's learn from other counties just like ours, before we're burned like they were. Again, imagine the next one is in your district, or a quarter of a mile from your home. And it's your even closer neighbors calling and emailing you and not Craig, because it could be. With our current level of transparency, we don't know where the other centers are scouting. Please take some real time to review and strongly consider the proposed zoning changes, then pass updated regulations. Let's look at those zoning changes Don discussed and help limit the negative changes and consequences associated with these proposed projects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I was wondering,
Mr. Cameron,
could I ask a question of legal counsel?
you may.
Just regarding Mr. Hanrahan's proposal for a revised zoning ordinance to affect data centers, could we pass that now and it would affect the current, the current application of Cyrus One?
You don't mean tonight.
Pardon me?
You don't mean tonight.
No, not tonight. I mean, but if we did it before we voted on the application.
Well, again, this would all go on the, fit into the discussion I had on the question of the moratorium. So right now, we have an zoning ordinance that controls this. And right now, Cyrus One and everybody has a right to rely on the existing ordinance. But at the point in time where a resolution, I guess it would be at the committee level, would be made, and under your example for Mr. Hanrahan's amendment to the existing, then they would no longer have the right to rely on the old zoning ordinance. Now, whether they have vested rights already would depend on how much money, time, effort they've already spent on this. And I have no idea what that is. And the case law that I looked at on this, it says every case is, is a case-by-case determination. So there's no bright line rule. The project's worth $500 million and they spend $1 million, that's enough to vest the right. There's no rule like that. It's a case-by-case analysis.
Okay, well, we could certainly, it may or may not be effective with the Cyrus One application, but we could certainly 100% pass it and it would be applicable to any other future data center applications for zoning relief, correct?
I think that's correct.
All right, thank you.
The next person who signed up to speak is Ann Logue. We are, that corner is treacherous.
Sorry.
No, we're getting a railing to prevent that from happening.
Well, I'm just, I didn't have my nap today. What can I say? This is for you guys. And this is my speech with some backed up evidence, whatever. Okay. This map shows that rapid escalation of data centers. They're happening all over the country, and they're affecting many communities that are not prepared for them. There are about 36 communities that have blocked these initiatives. To quote Illinois Power Agency, Illinois Commerce Commission, and the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, it says hyperscale data centers are driving Illinois power needs to unsustainable highs, according to their recent report. Data centers are poised to set our climate on a fast-forward course to an unsustainable climate being used to justify the prolonged use of fossil fuels, locking in a future of elevated emissions and escalated temperatures. Data will show that global temps rise as, the carbon level and global temperatures rise lockstep. This is a graph that shows it. Data centers are a primary fuel for carbon emissions.
Data show that global temperatures rise as carbon levels rise, requiring data centers to provide their own clean energy and storage would protect local citizens from respiratory disease, cancer, and escalating utility bills. What is our strategy when more data centers come knocking at our door? How will we protect the farmland? And what is the MISO strategy when data center growth exceeds supply and utility rates rise? Many measures are beginning to take hold where heavy concentrations of hyperscale data centers already exist. Changes to the zoning and permitting process are powerful tools for responsible data center construction. Harrisonburg, Virginia removed data center status of by right to development to require special use permits, which redirect proposals through public hearings and discretionary reviews instead of waiting to engage the public as it did here at the end of the process. Community benefit agreements are a positive means to balance out the public harm that these centers create. As of December 16, 2025, Chandler, Arizona City Council last week, or that was the news article, unanimously rejected a zoning request for a 10-acre data center despite the promise of a closed-loop cooling system. This is the same suburb that had a 5-level structure for a 169-megawatt data center built, and they built it in 170 days thanks to their massively modular prefab construction utilizing pre-built blocks to reduce on-site work that directly affects our labor here. Chandler, Arizona has learned from the experience that these companies are not our friends. They are international corporations who are billions of dollars in debt with AI expansion in mind. It is not just about this one data center, it's how we set a precedent for any data center asking to build in our community.
Ms. Logue, that's time.
Okay.
Thank you. The next person who signed up to speak in order is Ken Pesha. Mr. Pesha? Don't see him. The next person to signed up to speak is Brad Hout.
Good evening. My name is Brad Hout with Cyrus One. First, I would like to extend my gratitude to the community members here today and to the county leaders and agencies that continue to engage with our team. I particularly want to thank the county for the amazing job you have done facilitating public dialogue. At Cyrus One, we make it a priority to fully engage with communities considering our projects and to be open and transparent with the people who live in the places where we invest. The county's work in facilitating this is greatly appreciated. Finally, thank you to everyone who has come out and offered your viewpoints and participated in this process. This year, Cyrus One celebrates 25 years in business, having been formed at the start of the new millennium. In 25 years, we've weathered a tech stock bubble, a global financial crisis, an unprecedented pandemic, and wave after wave of geopolitical issues. Through all of this, the demand and viability of our facilities has remained steady and unchanged. Technology has evolved rapidly over the past 25 years, but facilities we built in the early 2000s continue to operate and succeed today. That's because we're a company that builds for longevity. We don't chase trends or build based on a bubble. We build for the long term, with infrastructure capable of meeting dynamic and changing customer demand. Our commitment to invest $500 million in Sangamon County is about our company's future and the future of this community. This investment means $100 million in tax revenue over the next 20 years, hundreds of jobs for local labor workforce, and a new permanent workforce with long-term career advancement opportunities. Within Cyrus One, we can point to several instances where an employee has entered the company at an entry level and progressed over several years to a leadership or even an executive role. Throughout the wave of change that has affected our company, we remain a group of people, proud of the work and the role we serve within the national and global economies. As highlighted at the public forum in December, this is a project that is responsibly designed with respect to water usage, lighting, noise, and landscape design. The power infrastructure to serve this project is adjacent to the site today. And our commitment to pay for line extensions helps protect existing ratepayers from socialized costs. Further to this, the regional grid operator, MISO, has confirmed that capacity is available to serve the project today and won't create rolling blackouts or brownouts. Our electric bills we pay to the Rural Electric Convenience Cooperative. Their leadership has made it clear that this project is beneficial for their members and will allow them to reduce the amount of transmission costs passed on to their customers. Through thoughtful site selection and planning, we are working to create a project where the costs are not socialized, but the benefits are. As demonstrated over the past several weeks, Sangamon County is a place with thoughtful residents, strong leaders, and a talented workforce that stands ready to deliver a responsible campus that will help diversify the local economy and tax base. In doing so, we will help support hundreds of local families for years to come. Cyrus One is a company run by people that are proud of what we do, proud of our role in the national and global economy, and proud of the positive impact we have on the communities we operate within. We are excited about this opportunity at hand and look forward to delivering a world-class campus here in Sangamon County. In the coming weeks, we will work to finalize our initial stakeholder engagement efforts and present plans for approval. As mentioned at the meeting in December, we want to be a good neighbor. We want to be a good corporate citizen, and we'll do everything to demonstrate this to you as we have in dozens of other communities over the past 25 years. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. And the last person who signed up to speak, Aaron Guernsey, well known to this body.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, County Board members and all in attendance tonight. Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Aaron Guernsey, President of the Central Illinois Building and Construction Trades Council. I'm the business manager for Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 137, and I am a resident of Sangamon County. I've addressed this board previously at the public hearing as a proponent of the Cyrus One Data Center, and our position as organized labor is still in favor of this project. And as I try for some new material, bear with me a little bit, but I do respect the concerns for this project, and it does show that the citizens of Sangamon County do care about what goes on around them. And I'm glad the county board takes all that into consideration. But I'm not here to talk to you about electric rates, noise, or the obvious need for stable baseload power generation here in the state of Illinois. I represent the skilled workers in Sangamon County, and it has made me realize that they and their families really do love nice things. They love their public schools and their sports teams. They love their parks, their libraries, and their beautiful public spaces for gatherings and spaces for their kids to play. These families love feeling safe with the protection of the police and fire departments. All these wonderful things are funded by property taxes. Cyrus One is ready to pay their share of the property taxes for these things to the tune of right at $6 million. Schools get funded, road districts improve, and Sangamon County has a place for 500 men and women to build a facility and spend that hard-earned money right here in the community because of a labor agreement that ensures local workers are on this project. And as a reminder, Cyrus One will ultimately put 100 people to work in full-time, well-paid, highly skilled positions upon completion of this construction, upon the completion of the construction portion and the operations begin. Speaking of these skilled positions, to build this facility, do you know where these men and women will train? Right here in Sangamon County. To operate the facility, do you know where these workers will train? Right here in Sangamon County. For those students that see the pathway to a great career may not be college, the high school trades programs at local schools teach and sustain a pre-apprenticeship training program. Lincoln Land Community College has their pre-apprenticeship training programs. And finally, these skilled tradespeople come to local union halls to enter our apprenticeship programs to hone their skills and become the workforce that makes Central Illinois the place where Midwest work ethic becomes a reality. So in conclusion, we all like nice things. Progress and change are what brings the public those nice things. So please support local, because when you don't, there won't be a local to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comment for this evening. We still have a few quick other formal matters to tend to. Reports of county officials, reports of special committees, reports of standing committees, report of the Committee on Claims. Motion by Mr. Del Giorno, seconded by Mr. Madonia, that the reports be placed on file with the clerk. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have the reports to be placed on file with the clerk. Motion by, motion by-
Chairman,
Mr. Hall, Mr. Hall.
Yeah, can hey, I have a moment to say something, please?
If it's in order, go ahead.
Yes, I believe it's in order. I appreciate everybody going over to the convention center, and I'm hearing everybody. I thought it was very disrespectful for people to leave during the meeting before the other people spoke. I thought it was really nice here tonight to have the people who spoke before not leave tonight. That's just a good way to treat each other, and that's all I have to say. And I'm talking about the conduct of leaving. And there's people in the back of the room, when you say, hey, that I'm a trades and labor guy, whatever, right? And I'm a union guy, I really am, whatever, right? But to say I have to get home, there's farmers in the back here who have cattle that I know are up early in the morning and not coming in until almost before, I'm just saying, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hall. I'm not really sure if that was in order, but thank you. All right, motion by Mr. Madonia, seconded by Mr. Del Giorno, that we do stand in recess until our regularly scheduled February meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We stand in recess.